Did you know that Plainville was without a fire department for a number of years, and Plainville residents had to rely on North Attleboro for emergencies? Did you know that until 1930, Plainville Town offices and Plainville Library stuck together like glue, following each other from building to building like nomads around town? What about the fact that there's a long-standing legend floating around that Plainville Police kept criminals in the basement of Plainville Market, which would eventually become known as Falk's Market, and is now the site of the Unlikely Story bookstore, in makeshift jail cells due to the fact that there was no official Plainville police station? Well, these questions and more are about to be answered, so slide down that fire pole, shine up your badge, dust off those town documents, and prepare for today's History of Plainville video. With the new town hall and new public safety building set to open to the public on Plainville's birthday, April 4th, the Historical Commission thought it would be a good idea to add to our webisode series with another History of Plainville video, this time focusing on the history of Plainville town offices and public safety. To kick this video off, let's start with the history of Plainville public safety. The history of Plainville's public safety, especially the fire department, is a little more well documented and available in the form of photos than the history of the town halls. Predating Plainville's incorporation as the final town in Norfolk County, Plainville has had a long history of volunteer fire departments. The first fire department we have record of was the Wampum Hose No. 1 Company from about 1881. The department's only equipment was a hose reel and hose. The station was off of Spring Street in what is now the Boy Scout House, and their meeting place was just down the street at the Plainville Grange Hall, next door to the Plainville United Methodist Church, which can be seen in the background of this photo. The group only lasted a few years, and when it was disbanded, Plainville residents largely relied on neighboring North Attleboro for help for several years. We also know that prior to 1905, Plainville had its own fire company that worked as a part of Wrentham Fire Department. We know this because last year a badge was mailed to us all the way from Oregon by a man named Steve Skinner. The badge has become a favorite artifact in our public safety display, and what makes the badge really interesting, mainly because it was donated to us by Steve from his grandfather Clarence, is the fact that even though it says Plainville Engine Company on the top of it, on the bottom of the badge it has the initials WFD, Wrentham Fire Department. On July 14, 1903, 17 members divided and formed the Hook and Ladder Company. The name was soon changed to the Machinimagut Engine Company No. 1. After our separation from Wrentham, the name was changed again to Plainville Fire Company, still operating out of the Wampum House. Things pretty much stayed status quo for the fire department for quite a while, so let's put them on hold for a second while they take a call and turn our attention to Town Hall. So, Town Hall is a different story from the fire department. After all, because we were part of Wrentham until 1905, there really wasn't a need for town government, just for officials to work with Wrentham. So records regarding town offices, officials, or even an actual town hall are pretty much non-existent. However, in 1904, things changed. A special town meeting was called in Wrentham as residents of Plainville expressed their desire to separate from Wrentham and become their own governing body. This meeting occurred on September 17, 1904. Working in a historical house that now doubles as archival space means every day something new and amazing will appear in a closet, a box, filing cabinet, even a desk drawer. Going along with that, there are also ample times where you will find yourself saying, "Oh, why is that in there?" Case in point, after being buried deep in the depths of the Humphrey House, a simple box containing 2 documents was uncovered. The first document was a committee report for proposed division of Wrentham and Plainville at a special town meeting. Then, while cleaning out a filing cabinet in the offices of the Humphrey House, a rolled up and slightly ripped piece of parchment was also uncovered. This document, like the committee report, showcases Plainville's history, as it was the town warrant for Plainville's first official town meeting, scheduled for Monday evening, November the 6th, 1905. All three of these documents help tell Plainville's story and are extremely important to our town. Oh, and remember that box that the two documents were sitting in? Yeah, that box is pretty important too. That box was actually the town's first voting box in Plainville's election. We've come a long way in the progression of voting boxes, even up to this precinct number 3 box that's in the Humphrey House. All three of the documents are finally together forever, framed by our friends over at the Preservation Framer in North Attleboro, and the documents will be displayed in the new town hall in the Selectmen's meeting room for all of Plainville to see and be proud of, alongside other documents that were framed by Town Clerk Ellen. So, now that we've covered Plainville's separation from Wrentham, what about the bigger question, town offices? Unfortunately, we don't really have much information on where the town offices met prior to 1901. We're assuming that their location never really changed. If you've seen our History of Plainville Schools video, then you know that Plainville lost 2 schools to fire in the span of 2 years. The GAR building in 1905, done in by a baking accident, and the first Plainville High School in 1904, which burned under mysterious circumstances, though it's widely believed that it was the result of a serial arsonist who was setting fires all around the area. But we also believe that Plainville town offices met in this building early on. Plainville Elementary and a new Plainville High School were quickly built following the fire in 1905 and sustained the town up into the 1950s. In our History of Plainville Schools video, we mentioned that a third fire nearly destroyed another Plainville school. Again, we believe the town offices occupied half of Plainville Elementary not long after it was constructed, and we know the town offices were in the building through the 20s. We know this because in 1921, the town hall side of the school caught fire and was nearly destroyed. So, throughout the 20s at least, Plainville town offices occupied one side of Plainville Elementary School. In addition, Plainville Library utilized a classroom in the school. However, due to the needed space and the school needing the classroom, the library was only able to be open on select days for a few hours. In 1927, the elementary school needed to expand, and the town offices were forced to relocate just down the street, taking the library with them. The town offices and the library moved into the brick house. Built by J.T. Bacon, the brick house was constructed at the end of the Civil War by one of the largest landowners and most profitable businessmen in town. In 1930, the library moved just up the street, taking over the old farmhouse known as the Humphrey House. The Humphrey House was built in about 1715 and had been a wedding present from the Deacon Fairbanks to his daughter and her new husband, James Humphrey. After James passed away, control of the estate returned to the Deacon, who maintained the estate for his daughter and grandchildren. Following the Humphrey family, control of the house went to the Slack family, who utilized the 10-mile river to operate their mill. The house was also occupied by several more families, but we'll save the details about the full history of the Humphrey House for a later video. Anyways, the library took over the Humphrey House, transforming the farmhouse into the town library. Ten years later, in 1941, construction began next door to the Humphrey House for the new fire station. With the town steadily growing, the need for a state-of-the-art firehouse was becoming more real. The Wampum House, unfortunately, wasn't cutting it anymore. So, in early July, construction began on the new Plainville Fire Station and town offices. Like with the documents, as we continue to catalog and organize the Humphrey House, more photos emerge that help tell Plainville's history, and there are some great photos of Plainville Firehouse being built, including this one. There's even a video online of Plainville firefighters rushing off to, quote-unquote, put out a fire. We know this fire video was staged, and it was part of a controlled burning, but it's still a really cool video that we're going to show you. The only thing to keep in mind with this video is the date that we have on this slide right here. It says June of 1941. We know this is impossible because the fire station wasn't even finished in June of 1941. The construction was really just getting going in July of 1941. But the video itself is still pretty cool. We're just not sure exactly when it was filmed. But it was uploaded by MassFireTrucks, and it's really neat to watch. So there's the fire station. And the town offices section can be seen in the background. And here come the trucks out onto South Street. And they're heading up School Street. It's a really cool video that shows Plainville firefighters at work. So things pretty much stayed status quo in the town in regards to public safety and town offices for a while. New selectmen were elected, new town clerks, the fire department and police department saw a changing of the guard. The latter even saw 3 of Plainville's first female police officers come through the ranks. These 3 amazing ladies paved the way for future women in law enforcement, and we couldn't be more grateful to them. Especially Natalie Rammel, whose daughter loaned us some of her police gear for the Fall Festival and Winter Festival to display. We don't have much in the way of Plainville Police artifacts, but these things really made our display shine. The fire department would continue to participate in parades, water battles, with neighboring towns such as North Attleboro. And along with the police department, protected this town. And every now and then, dress up Plainville Fire Department for Christmas. In 1951, a new elementary school was constructed at 200 South Street, on land that was donated to the town by Leon and Ellen Smith. Plainville Elementary would eventually be renamed Beatrice H. Wood School. And again, if you've seen our History of Plainville Schools video, that's where you'll find all that information. On March 7th, 1955, the old fire station on Spring Street, the Wampum House, was given to the Boy Scouts. And 9 years later, in 1966, Plainville Fire Department was able to purchase their first mechanical ladder truck. The town was continuing to grow and needed a fire and police station that could care for and protect the town's growth, and a town hall that could support its growing population. Thus, in 1973, construction began just down the street on the corner of Cottage Street and South Street for a new fire and police complex. The original site had been the home of the Garford Building, which was demolished to make way for the new station. Once the station was complete, the former fire station was renovated as Town Hall took control. The old station was renovated to meet the needs of a town office. The garage doors, which can still be seen in the building, were bricked up and office space was created where the bays that once held the fire trucks. As a side note, we'd also like to mention that in 1973 saw the first official meeting of the Plainville Historical Commission. Over the next several years, the town continued to change and grow, and took to heart its motto of a growing town. Residents of Plainville celebrated the bicentennial in 1976, Plainville's own Jubilee in 1980, And life in the youngest town in Norfolk County went on as usual. The fire department hosted its Halloween parades and Christmas celebrations with Santa's arrival on the fire truck. Town officials guided Plainville towards the future, and Plainville Police continued to protect the town. Plainville was progressing and changing, and like the town hall and fire station before it, the library was outgrowing the little red building affectionately known as the Humphrey House. In 1988, the new Plainville Public Library opened its doors at 198 South Street, right in front of the Wood School. The same night the library opened, the Historical Commission chairwoman, Barbara Fluke, left her office in Town Hall and used her key as a library volunteer to stage her own version of a sit-in, securing the care of the Humphrey House to the Historical Commission. The late 80s and 90s would steadily progress with not much changing around town in the way of public safety or town offices. In 2000, a new senior center would open on School Street, roughly on the same plot of land that had once supported Plainville schools. But other than that, nothing else really changed for the next 4 years. In 2004, however, things would start changing. In 2004, the last class to attend the Wood School at 200 South Street walked out of the building, and it was closed. And as you've hopefully seen in our History of Plainville Schools video, the school went through a lot over the next 13 years, which we won't discuss in this video. You'll just have to check the other video out. In 2005, Plainville celebrated its centennial with parades, open houses, bonfires, fireworks, letters of congratulations from our sister Plainville towns in Texas, Kansas, Connecticut, etc. A time capsule was buried in front of the Humphrey House, and the youngest town in Norfolk County celebrated turning 100. Ten years later, the growth that Plainville had seen was not well reflected in several of its buildings, several important buildings. By 2017, the town hall was just about 76 years old, while the fire and police station was just about 6 years shy of turning 50. Neither building had aged well, and the town hall especially because of its original structure and purpose was to house fire trucks, not the town clerk. The Permanent Building Committee began discussing plans for a new public safety and town offices complex, utilizing funds from the state's first casino, Plainridge. The land was selected and plans were made working with Castle Booz Associates to design a new public safety and new town hall. The plans would change several times to accommodate various town boards that desperately needed space, such as the Historical Commission. Once the plans were finalized, it was brought to a vote at town meeting. The case was made regarding the aging town hall and public safety buildings. They had served the town well, but could no longer function in the way they once had. This was especially true for the police and fire department, such as using temporary locker rooms that had to be rented and attached to the building for the female officers, and a garage across the street, which had to be rented to store the growing fleet of public safety vehicles, both of which were costing the town money and could potentially cost more in the long run. A prime example of this would be the fire department trying to respond to a call, but the truck they needed is in the garage across the street, and things had to be moved in order to get access to that truck. With Plainridge, the Rentham outlets, new apartment buildings going up, new houses also going up, Route 495 so close, Plainville is called on quite a bit to assist with various accidents, rescues, and things of that nature. The need for more effective space for both the fire and police officers is a necessity. On August 7th, 2017, a groundbreaking ceremony was held to celebrate Plainville's next step towards the future. The Wood School, which had served the town faithfully for over 60 years, was sadly demolished, leaving only the memory and photos. The Historical Commission has been documenting progress of the new complex from day one, even before the groundbreaking ceremony. We've posted new photos every week or so as the grounds have changed and the buildings have begun to take shape. And last February, when one of our members purchased a drone, that member was able to get aerial shots of the complex's progress and shared them with the Commission's album. In June of 2018, the Commission was given a tour of the buildings along with Melissa Campbell from the library and a library trustee. This gave us the opportunity to finally see the inside of what would eventually become our meeting space and town hall. This new meeting space will be where we can conduct research and help aspiring researchers and genealogists conduct their own research. We also had a chance to see the archival space that we will share with the library. This part is especially important as all the town's history is currently stored at the Humphrey House. And though the house is great as a museum and a wonderful highlight into the town's past and is extremely important to all of us, it was never designed to store or protect historical items. The new archival space will allow the Commission the opportunity to ease the burden that was once placed on the Humphrey House, and allow the Humphrey House to serve its purpose as the Commission's main meeting room and a museum for Plainville's history. The new complex is nearly completed, Town Hall has moved in, and business is being conducted, and the grand opening with the ribbon cutting ceremony is set to open the doors officially on April 4th, 2019, Plainville's 114th birthday. Not a bad birthday present for the youngest town in Norfolk County. A new public safety complex, and a new town hall. Phew, we're not gonna lie, this was a long video. So we thank you for sticking with us and watching till the end. We hope that by May we'll have a new video up to follow this one, so please be sure to visit our Facebook page for regular updates and photos. It is also where you can book appointments for research purposes, either at the Humphrey House or at our new meeting space in Town Hall. You can arrange for loans and donations, both digital and physical, as well as a chance to tour the Humphrey House. We're hoping with the new complex and the burden lifted off the Humphrey House, we'll be able to open up to the public on a regular basis. So thank you very much for watching this video. Be sure to give it a like and subscribe to our channel for future videos of Plainville's great history. And we'd also like to take this chance to congratulate our friends at Plainville Police and Plainville Fire Department, as well as our friends at the Plainville Town offices on their new and much-deserved buildings. This is a great step towards Plainville's future, but we hope everyone doesn't forget Plainville's great past. Thank you for everything you guys do, and once again, congratulations.